around, friends, new and old, and welcome to the Roast and Toast podcast. We are your hosts, Jennie, Philip, and David.
Well, good night,
Irene.
everybody. Yeah, sure.
This is probably the latest we've recorded for you in quite some time, huh, David?
Oh, in quite some time, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I think we've done like probably later. I want to say even off the top of my head when you and I did the inebriated episode where you were a little tipsy and I was a little smoky on that particular episode. I recall it being late for both of us somehow. I don't know how that worked out.
Wait, hold on. There's an inebriated episode and I haven't had one yet? Come on, guys.
Man,
that episode didn't go well.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It wasn't good.
We'll redirect you and really anybody.
Super awkward.
we went in. Well, also I remember I got paranoid.
I think I said something that set Philip off. Like he got really worried that he'd offended me, and he was really paranoid. And the whole tone of the episode was just not good.
Oh, yeah. That sucks.
As much as we wanted a fun episode, I think we discovered in that episode that we probably needed somebody to be sober to direct it, and with a two-person thing, maybe that's something we'll revisit with. Since there's three of us, one of us can.
Since there's three of us, yeah.
Yes, maybe one of us can not be inebriated and help try and guide the other two sloppily along. Anyways, that's a trip down memory lane. If you want to go and check that out, of course, go back now to our original 4 Nights of Christmas episode. I believe that's episode 3 of that. At some point, we'll probably put a title to that.
In the first year? Was that in the first year?
Yeah, that was our first year. I remember that being night 3 of the 4 weeks of Christmas.
What a way to celebrate Christmas.
Yes, get drunk and high. Love it. Anywho, speaking of what we normally do from week to week of getting drunk and high, what have you guys done these past 2 weeks since last we talked?
Speaking of getting drunk, I recently ordered for the bar where I work 12 new whiskeys for the top shelf. So that we want to get a lot more whiskey. That's kind of the focus of our shelves. You know, like we have another bar in the company that's a lot of rum, and there's one where the top shelf is full of tequila and mezcal, and ours is more whiskey, and there were too many gaps on the top shelf, and there was too much there just wasn't enough variety, especially of American whiskey, which is my preference in terms of whiskey. And so I ordered 12 new whiskeys, some bourbons, some ryes, one American single malt, a blue corn whiskey. And
Which one of the alcohols has the fun bottle? I realize that can really pertain to any general one, but like which one? I feel fun? Like isn't there like there's some really artistic bottles? I want to say, is it with?
I think some of the most interesting artistic bottles I've seen are with tequila and mezcal.
Yeah, I thought it was tequila with like flower pots almost. And I'm like, every time they just draw your attention.
You do get a lot of those with tequila and mezcal.
Okay.
But anyway, so I those arrived this week and tasted a couple. Oh. Very nice. Mm-hmm. If you're living in the Netherlands, come by or send me a message. I'll give you the info. You come by and you have some whiskey. It'll be very nice.
Very nice. Jennie, how have your 2 weeks treated you?
Well, the first week was great because second week was rough because I got extremely sick my last weekend of shows. And I lost my voice. So Humperdinck sounded like a smoking frog the last 2 shows. And I was very sad about that. I had to end on a low note like that. But thankfully, everyone was very supportive and helped me get through it. And we were able to all still have our cast bonding moments together to close out a successful run. And then I had to spend the rest of the week recovering. So I'm going to try to control it on this week's episode. But I still do have a pretty nasty cough. So I'll be wary of it. So sorry, listeners, if you catch some random coughing during this episode.
Yeah, it's always hard. I mean, to be honest, again, of pulling back your work curtain, Jennie, they've been working you like a dog. And it's never fully work if you love what you do, which you do, and you're extremely talented. There's nothing to besmirch like the company and everything else. It's more so the fact that you've been working that much with very minimal amounts of breaks and on a musical with your voice and also doing voices. It feels like it probably was inevitable, but I'm glad that, like you said, you were surrounded by support. That's very reassuring, reinforcing.
Well, obviously, it was the high demand, of course, that resulted in all of that work, and very thankful for that. But now we do have a break because the puppet theater is off for the summer. They are
in summer.
They're upgrading their light system, so no shows happening in there anytime soon.
Very nice. Well, a well-deserved break for all the company as well as yourself, Jenny. Yeah, during our little break in our hiatus here in the pod, a very momentous day occurred. And by the time that this episode comes out, it'll probably be now, I guess, 2 weeks gone. But just the way the cookie crumbles, my mother's birthday, friend of the pod, my mom, had a birthday.
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the pod.
Oh,
friend of the pod. We love to throw that term around. Had a birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. Very excited that we got to spend the day with her.
Happy birthday, Caprice.
Yes.
Hope you're listening.
Hope you're listening. She is. And when we love having her around, and had a very fun day.
Good.
Putting candles in random items that didn't necessarily normally have candles in them. So that was a fun thing. But happy birthday, Mom. Let's get to a fun event that was not really about birthdays whatsoever. There's no Robert Downey Jr. and no Chris Evans, but yet we are still going to be reviewing a movie called Civil War today.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man. Okay, so we're talking A24s. Today we're doing
crazy. Hold on a second. Isn't it crazy? When you said Robert Downey Jr., my mind didn't actually go to Iron Man immediately. It went to Oppenheimer.
That happened to me too, actually.
That happened to you. I was going to say, Jennie.
There was a time when you mentioned Robert Downey Jr. and it goes Iron Man. You know, that's what you think of. You think Marvel.
Yes.
Damn. What things have changed.
I wonder if that is the general public's thought. I think it would still probably be, for the majority, probably Iron Man. I could be wrong. I'm sure now it's at least sectored off into a percentage for sure. But you're right. It is a new time, new day. Robert Downey Jr. is moving on, and he has moved on. Civil War, however, is what we're talking about. A24's version, written, directed by, produced, probably stars at some point. Who the hell knows?
Directed by Alex Garland. Mm-hmm.
Yes, all encompassing by Alex Garland of his own theatrical fame. And stars Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, and so on and so forth. In case you haven't seen it, let's go to David for a short, fun little synopsis. What was the movie about here, David?
In a not-so-distant parallel universe, tensions have boiled over and the United States is divided by civil war. Documenting the terror and bloodshed are the war journalists. Lee Smith is a renowned photojournalist and is joined by her comrade Joel, her biggest fan Jesse, and good friend and mentor Sammy. The group journey from a riotous New York to Washington, D.C., but must take a very roundabout route so as to avoid blockades. Their goal is to interview the demagogic president before he is overwhelmed by the oncoming Western forces of Texas and California. Now, that's a very rudimentary summary, and I don't think it captures the movie particularly well. I think the summary I'm giving here is more or less what you get from the trailer, which had me expecting a much more trivial movie than we actually got. So just keep that in mind if you haven't seen the film yet. Just also, if you haven't seen the film yet, this review will be spoilerific. So go watch the film, pause, go watch the film, and come back later.
I truly don't think one could do a review of any real merit without spoiling. It's a very integral film that spoiling elements to it are just incumbent upon reviewing it. Okay, so there we go.
You have been warned.
You've been warned. If you have any interest in seeing it, which I think in short, I don't know. I guess we'll get there. But if you want to go see it now. You've been warned. Let's get to it. Let's get straight into it. Jennie, what was your best thing about this film that you came away with?
as much as it as one of the darkest moments of the entire movie, the best 5 minutes in this film involved Jesse Plemons. Jesse
Yes.
flippin' Plemons. That man is a fantastic actor. I was scared the entire time. For those who haven't seen it, it's a sequence where Jesse Plemons plays a xenophobic gunman who's out hunting, unfortunately, minority citizens, and he's just targeting people. And our heroes, or our people, the main characters, get in a confrontation with him because he has stolen away Kayleen Spiney's character, and they're trying to get her back as well as another member of their party. And I just want to say bravo. I just can't get enough of that scene. Very well done.
To aid you in your point, that I think that was my number one thing too. I have others,
Yeah,
but you're right. That was number one. Jesse Plemons plays such. I think he is a trailblazer, which is odd in such a subdued role that he normally takes up.
Right.
He is unique in making the mundane absolutely fascinating. He just takes a normal, average, everyday character that otherwise to any other actor could just be a complete throwaway, and just brings so much fascination, dedication, motivation, and a realism to it that it's absolutely encapsulating. I completely agree with you, Jenny. And really, the trailer, I think, does show what is partly intriguing about that interaction. He's shown in that scene, and yet and still, it doesn't do full service to how integral that scene is to the plot and how integral that scene is to the film as a cataclysmic event in it, and how good it is, how just drawing it is. And I honestly think, looking back on this film, that will be a snapshot that stays with me, if nothing else. My best thing, which is a subset of this, it's somewhat akin to this. The tension building in this film is some of the best that I've ever seen. It really never stops, and it's always captivating. It's organic. It's real, and it's so well done, well placed, and has you on the edge of your seat for what could possibly be, depending on the character that you have interest in or don't have interest in, if any. It's still there. The fact that it still remains there and is organic and constant throughout is really speaks well to do with the writing and directing, both of which feel like they have the same vision because they are by the same person, And so it just, the tension is stellar in this film. Some of the best tension one can palpably see on film is in this movie. So way to go. David, close us out on the best thing about this film.
This is a story told through striking images, different and diverse perspectives, and scenes that look like paintings.
Yes.
My best thing is the cinematography. I think it was hard to pick a best thing, but the cinematography really is spectacular throughout. You know, it's this balance of almost making these dark scenes look like lighthearted through the way that, you know, the way that the perspectives that the camera is showing you, and also the actual horror, you know, of what this is. And I think it's coupled in with the editing. It's fantastically edited as well. So, but that's my best thing about this film.
So let's stick with you, David. What was the thing that you found to be the worst then, if it sounds like it was hard for you to find something the best?
Yeah, here we got some spoilers. The ending, specifically for Kirsten Dunst's character.
Thank you.
Lee Smith. It just kind of sucked that she didn't get to take the photo in the end. You know, that she's this photographer, she's the legend, she's the one who wanted to go on this journey to try to interview the president and shoot the president, as in with a camera, not with a gun, but be there first, to be the first person to interview this president, this tyrannical president, like since before the war began or something like that. So she's the one who wants to go on this journey, and a couple other people tag along, including Jesse, who's the younger one who looks up to Lee. And then in the end, it's Jesse who gets to take the the photo, the photo of the president in the end. So, and so it really sucked. For me, at least, this is a personal opinion, because I it's not that I hated it, but for me personally, yeah, story-wise, like it's like
it makes
the
sense.
movie's allowed to throw that like sort of shock ending at you, but I didn't like it. I was like, I wanted her to take let her die after that, or whatever. Maybe she didn't die, but she didn't get to take the photo. That's for sure. So let her, whatever. If you're gonna kill her off after she takes the photo.
Jennie, go ahead. You're next. It sounds like you agreed a lot with David on that being an element that was the worst. But what was your absolute worst thing about this film, in your humble opinion?
Not just specifically the death of Lee Smith. I just felt like the ending was just so. I feel like it's been happening in a lot of the movies I've seen recently, to be honest with you, where endings just kind of like this, like super sharp, like sudden ending of a movie, and then there's like nothing else after. There's no like post event scene that kind of resolves everything that occurs. It's just like, oh yeah, here's the death. This is what happens to the president. Here's the final photo. We're done. That's all you get to see. And I was like, wait, what? What? Like I was.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that as much.
Oh, really? You don't mind
but
it?
I do understand. I think for some movies you need something after, and some you don't. And for this one, I didn't necessarily.
I always find it fascinating how one person's best thing could also be somebody else's worst thing, as well as not be integral or a shared opinion amongst all of us. So whatever it was for Jennie, obviously, that could be one thing. And then for what didn't mind for David, I myself am kind of in the middle about it, but whatever. You're fair to your own opinion. My worst thing about this film is, and I think already I'm going to have a disagreement as well, Jennie, funny enough, with David. I didn't find that this movie, as it was billed from the trailer, I don't think it has much to say politically. I think it has things to say socially. I think it has things to say about wartime journalism. I don't necessarily believe it has much to say in the way of politics, which I felt, based off of what was advertised to me, what I was to expect. Especially on a film called Civil War, I would imagine, are we not going, based on a real place in the United States and everything else, I was expecting more of a raw cutting to how it plays in a modern day. If it's in the future, then of course it's in its own little world. I found that any parallels politically to current political figures, current political climate, mostly for the vast majority were very muted, or a bit of a reach if you were to look for it. Like there are things like for one instance, the president himself, I don't think really pertains to either of our current political candidates for president. I don't think that it really pertains to any specific past president. And like it didn't really embody anybody. Even the things that made him tyrannical, I think, were pretty safe of, oh, why? I thought it was really told in a very well way of like, why did you go for 3 terms? Did you feel guilty for firing missiles on a civilian, a civilian homeland, all that stuff? I was like, okay, that's pretty safe to.
Let me interrupting, Philip.
Show.
I did hear that is well, depending on like in like war situations, I think there is like a special exception for presidents to be allowed to be elected for a 3rd term if people believe it's necessary. But my brain initially went to the amendment where they declare that the president can't serve longer than 2 terms. But I think there is. I was told there's some. I didn't fact check this.
I don't know if that's still right. I know that happened with FDR. But right. I think the law changed after that.
Yes,
so that's when
it did.
That's after that was when they introduced the 2-term limit.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I think the muted political
environment.
Yeah, or just the muted attitude towards specific politics was very deliberate, and I appreciated it. I do think that there was some allusions to Trump.
But I feel like it's a bit. It's
the 3rd term thing was something that Trump had joked in quotes about.
Yes, I mean,
I think it's implied, And I'm glad they didn't lean too heavily into that, because that's
Yeah.
not the specific political views of either side of the Civil War is kind of not the point. The point is things are boiling up, and like that's where it could lead. I think even if you look at the Western forces in the movie are Texas and California.
Yeah.
Texas is a I mean, it is very
Oh,
divided, blue and
yes.
red. Like it's a huge blue population, especially in the big cities, but it's typically thought of as a red state.
Right.
Whereas California is very blue, but it's also got a huge, like the biggest Republican population in any state across America is in California. You're talking about two states that, yeah, I mean, they could be united under a blue flag or a red one. It could go either way. So it's they're not taking sides in this
No.
movie, not explicitly at least. And I think that was good. I actually liked that about the film.
Well, but here's my problem: is I'm not against that, and you're very right. But the choices of the states that they chose, like had they chose, let's say, just Florida and California, like they chose pretty deep seated, like it's well known where these two places land.
If they'd chosen like the Pacific coast, then it would have been obvious it was blue. You know, like
yes,
Democrats,
yeah,
had risen up
Portland and everything else.
Yeah.
My point being though is that at least what I was billed and what I felt like I was being advertised in going to the film, in the naming of the film, and what I thought was going to be the tone of the film, especially given when it's being released, I thought it was going to be much more political than what it is. And when I'm going in and I'm watching this film and I'm seeing that it's a different story altogether, it's far more, it has far more to say about wartime journalism and desensitization than it does anything about political things. And a film called Civil War that I think comes out in a very divisive time, and I think partly of why everybody thought it was so dangerous. All right, so that is the worst part of it to me, and why I thought it was the worst part of it. David disagrees; he thinks that it was totally fine, and part of why the allure of it was so fine. I just mostly have a problem with how it was advertised. However, the thing that was half baked for me about this film, that kind of it was a good idea, but I didn't like the execution, which I think is the best definition of half baked to me, was the store scene. The scene where they go into the store and they buy clothing and go and try on hats and everything else. Here's my problem. As I had mentioned earlier, the tension is built so organically, it feels real, even though they're not on a specific time crunch. It is still a time crunch. And all of a sudden, we're whisked away into an oasis. And ironically, the one essence of political commentary I could find on this film probably resided in this, and I think it was well done. However, when it took place in a clothing store, it started to feel ludicrous. Why are they sticking around when time is of the essence for here? Had they even simply gone through the attempt to possibly make this like a grocery store and it's all normal, had they taken the attempt, I mean, already they had used a gas station, so using that as another thing in a different state, maybe that would have felt too repetitive. I understand that. But again, grocery store, maybe we go to, I don't know, maybe a school for something, or I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that it happened in a clothing store, I was continuously, and the longer that the scene was drawn out, I was continuously saying to myself, what? This doesn't feel realistic to the tempo of the film, nor does it feel correct to the gravity that the film is saying, like, oh, we need to keep going. We need to keep moving forward. And, but we have time to go and buy ourselves an outfit and have this whole, I get the point was to humanize our main character, make her feel like she's being back back into society, feeling more grounded and everything else. That still, to me, felt like it could have all happened in a different location and even kept the scene, and it felt a little more realistic. At a clothing store, didn't really connect with the idea that the scene took place in. David, what do you think was the half-baked notion of this film?
I had down when they invade the White House that the president should have been in a bunker, right? Like he would have been down in the basement, right?
Yeah, not in like the Oval Office.
But right now, I'm gonna change it because I just remembered. I thought it was super weird. Sammy gets shot while he's driving the car away. Somehow, a bullet managed to get into his side, which would have been under the door line, and like just the angle at which he was driving away. I remember in the movie, I was like, "How the hell did he get shot there?"
It was like kind of lower too, right?
It didn't seem like it was well thought out, that moment. Like it didn't seem realistic to me that a bullet would have managed to get into his like kidney area or whatever. So that was very half baked. The special effects team didn't, or like however they planned that didn't work. Should have rethought that.
Jenny, close us out on this element of it. What do you think with the final word? What was the last half-baked thing according to you?
In terms of the writing, I just wish there was a teeny tiny bit more interaction or experience of Nick Offerman's version of this president. I felt like I needed just a little bit more of content from him, because it's just, I know
I do think it had something to do with the politics that felt like they didn't want to
draw comparisons.
Go into it. You know, they didn't want to. Well, yeah, but they didn't want to go into specifics. You know.
But there, as an actor, I just wanted to see what Nick Offerman
take on this role more.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of what he was capable of doing with this, because we've seen him play those characters who are in those positions that are. I just think he has potential to do something really great with it, and I'm only getting like 2 to 3 scenes worth of screen time. Come on, can't we have a little?
And
more?
The only one that was really meaningful was the opening scene where he's like preparing for the speech. That was the only one where you actually got to see the character, you know?
He bookends the film, really. I mean, we have some radio announcements, some PSAs. That's about it. He really bookends the film with his presence, which is fascinating to think of. Let's go take one more round. Jenny, closing thoughts. Would you see this again? Would you recommend it to other people? Did you like it? Just general. Would you? Yes, no, maybe so.
I'll be honest with you, gentlemen. This was probably the first Roast and Toast movie review that I was not interested in doing. This is not one that
going to.
Yeah, I this is personally not my cup of tea, this type of movie. I thought it was good, with obviously what we've pointed out, the bits of flaws here and there. I did also have a heart. I don't think I'd watch this movie again, because watching this for the first time, I didn't go see this by myself. Matt went with me.
Friend of the podcast, Matt Crum, her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. It would have been a tough watch to watch by myself. It was very heavy content, and I'm the horror film gal. Like, this is a little too close to home.
I can't say I'm. Well, I am surprised. I'm surprised you didn't. Yeah.
No, it's a little too close to home for me personally. It's heavy content as well. So if I knew that somebody would like it, yes, I recommend it to them specifically. In general, I would just say, take warning. This is heavy. I'd be cautious.
Isn't that anybody where if I think that they'll like it, of course. I don't know. The question is, who is that person who you would think would like this? I'm not really even sure. That's part of the problem of this film for me, is that, again, it doesn't say much politically. I can't really align it to anybody. So who likes tension building, but it's not horror, it's not thriller. I guess by definition it would fall more into a thriller, but it doesn't feel like a stereotypical thriller.
A drama, for sure.
Drama for sure. Maybe even an acting practice if you see somebody who really likes acting performances, at least specifically for Jesse Plemons' scene, in which case you can watch it alone. Let's go to this. I think that this movie has a bunch of elements that we've already talked about cinematographically. There are a bunch of scenes that I think this particular movie is trauma-inducing, honestly. Like, and not to maybe that full extent of what that means, but like, I will remember a bunch of this. I never want to watch this again, and I feel like I have PTSD after watching it. It affects you greatly. There's a lot of heavy tension moments that just don't let you go, that don't allow you to breathe. And what's amazing about this is I don't even know that I was fully, heavily invested by any of these characters or any of their backstories. Yet and still, I was very much caring about their well-being and seeing how far this journey took them. So it's very good in that regard. As it pertains to would I would not watch it again. I guess if it's either yes, I liked it, or no, I didn't like it. Yes, I did like it. But again, I don't want to watch it ever again. And honestly, I don't know who I'd recommend this movie to. It's not a where I don't recommend it because it's bad. It's more so I don't recommend it because I don't know whom the audience this was meant for outside of finding a sympathy towards those who have become desensitized, a la wartime journalists. So overall, it's I liked it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a movie. David?
I think I think the audience is kind of everyone. That's the way I took it, you know. I did really like this film. I really did. I think 2024 is still young at the time of recording. You know, we're recording this mid-April, 2024. I think it's the movie of the year. I think it's better than Dune 2.
No, get out of here. What are you?
It 100%.
You had to go there. You had to sour the mood at the end of here. No, I'm so sorry.
100% is better than Dune 2. It's I can't think of the word, but it's enthralling. It's riveting. I was completely captivated by this. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a really dark subject, but it doesn't feel that distant, you know. It doesn't feel like this, like a sci-fi movie, you know, like, oh, years in the future. In fact, I found a synopsis online as I was trying to craft my synopsis. I found one online that says in a dystopian future. I'm like, I didn't think it was a dystopian future.
Dystopian.
I feel like it's right. Well, I mean, even future. I don't think it's a future. That's why I changed I say in a not so distant parallel universe. It's like this could be a few years from now. The right circumstances could, you know. So I felt like the word visceral. Visceral. It was a visceral movie, and I felt like it was the filmmaking was brilliantly done. It wasn't just a sci-fi epic, you know, which I love a sci-fi epic, don't get me wrong. But this movie feels like it's doing more. It's giving more than Dune 2 ever could. It's taking you on a more interesting journey than Dune 2 ever could. So yeah, I think the year is young. I don't expect it'll finish the year as the best film, but it is my best film of the year so far.
So David, starting the year off wrong, cannot disagree more vehemently or viscerally with that take. Dune Part 2 is the movie of the year thus far, in my opinion. However, that being said, this is not about that. It's about
Dune 2 could have been the movie of the year if it weren't for Timothée Chalamet.
That's hilarious. I thought it was going to be Christopher Walken. I digress, though. Speaking of Charmless, yes. Talking about Timothée Chalamet, let's go to Jennie with the facts of this movie.
Right. Solid effort, Phil.
Thank you.
So there were a couple of interesting facts that came from researching about this movie. This movie is the most expensive film produced by A24. It surpasses.
It felt it.
Not surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with like a lot of the later war like action sequences.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those action sequences were amazing. I thought they were incredible.
Sorry. So this cost $50 million for A24. It surpassed Beau is Afraid, which cost $35 million. The film's American release date...
Only $50 million, actually. That is crazy.
Next fact, the film's American release date was April 12th, 2024. The real American Civil War began exactly 163 years before that day. So 163 years ago, the real American Civil War started.
I had a question. Like, how much, do you find that to be like just a major coincidence? Or whenever they're like, all right, it's going to be released in the year 2024, what day are we looking? Oh, is there any significant day in April? Like, how much of that is a coincidence in your guys' mind? I feel like that is just absolute coincidence. Like, there's no way that they like would plan that out.
That they plan that.
You think so?
They absolutely did.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I just feel like that they like a studio would not go to that lengths to be.
I think
cute.
if they were like, what release date do we want between February and June? They would have been like, well, what other things are happening on which weekends? We don't want too much competition on our opening weekend, blah, blah, blah. They might have found a few dates and chosen one date based on that fact. I don't believe it was a coincidence. There's no way.
So,
and was that it, Jenny?
Oh, no, there's more. Sorry, I was waiting for the thoughts to finish. So, to immerse the actors, production used full blanks for the gunfire, as opposed to half or quarter blanks, resulting in a discharge as loud as real gunfire. Could have been one of the reasons that Kirsten Dunst said in an interview recently that she was experiencing symptoms of PTSD after she completed filming this.
To go to the shots as far as audio, that was one of my contenders for best thing about this film.
Same.
The audio mixing on this film, you feel every gosh darn shot in this entire film. I think that there's a lot of times where it just echoes and then comes out of nowhere, and the audio in this film is the audio mixing, I should say, is really well done, and it's annoying at first in the literal opening moments of the film near the film crawl in the beginning, but outside of that, amazing, incredible, well done. All right, last fun fact here, Jenny.
So this movie grossed domestically about $26 million in its opening weekend, and that's more than any other previous A24 film. It definitely surpassing Hereditary for sure, which made only $14 million. It's also the first A24 film to open at number 1 in the box office.
Ooh, look at that. Well, look at that. That is a positive towards, just to tie it in with a previous episode with Gary, who drafted the film in our blockbuster draft. I believe that was his third choice. So that's, a number 1. He already has a number 1 in his...
Well, that's 26. That's domestically, I'm guessing. So even internationally, it could be even more.
I'm pretty sure...
Probably.
For opening on its domestic thing, it was 25 or 26. Yeah, so that's already in there for our graphic that we released on Instagram.
Right. And I believe I saw it on opening weekend, so I contributed to the international gross. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there we have it. Civil War.
Look, I will add a disclaimer. I haven't yet seen Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Yes.
That could be the film of the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I swear to God, you say that also is better than Doom Part 2. I swear to God, I would come to the Netherlands and slap you. Slap you.
May I help you?
You talking to me?
I need to talk to you.
A little word of advice.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome then.
Oh, you're welcome. Is our mini segment this week. This is the segment where we offer you a little piece of advice that you probably didn't want. You may think you don't need, but we're going to give it to you anyway. And just take our advice, and you might see some benefits. My advice, I think you might like this or you might not, Philip and Jenny, is for DJs. DJs, stop remixing good songs.
Thank you.
What happens is that everyone is excited to hear the song, but then disappointed that you ruined it. Go ahead and try remix a bad song.
Hey.
Try make it good. Now then, I'll be impressed. You're welcome.
I hate whenever they remix sad songs into a beep. Like whenever they're bopping out to Adele remixed, like, hello.
The song Mad World, you know Mad World?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. They put a bop to that?
There's like a boppy remix to that.
No. It's a Mad World. Ew, I hate it. I hate that conceptually.
No, absolutely not. 0 stars.
I'm going to send it to you.
Oh,
it
please
does not
don't.
slap.
Oh. Jenny, what's your mini segment this week?
Well, my mini segment is You're Welcome. And my contribution...
That's fair. That's fair.
My contribution for this round is cowboy boots. If you're trying to update your wardrobe, cowboy boots are 100% worth every penny. Do yourself a favor and keep up with the trends cowboys and western wear are in. I've always been here, but now I'm part of the crew. I have my first pair of adult cowboy boots, and oh my gosh, they are just delicious. They're comfortable. They're a little stretchy. They keep your feet warm if you're in a cold AC'd room, like I often am. Thanks, Arizona. And it goes with so many outfits. It's just chef's kiss. Get yourself a pair of cowboy boots. You're welcome.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. I understand certain foods have an appeal greater than others, but for the love of God, can we just come up with new names for foods that are new? When craving for some good old fries, putting a plate in front of me that looks closer to hash browns and saying, "Oh, sorry, our home fries aren't really fries at all, more so just sauteed potatoes," is incredibly disappointing. So here's a tip. Call them literally anything else. Crazy potatoes, home hash, Jack's magic beans, something that doesn't confuse people for thinking that they are just fries. You're welcome.
The time has come for us to get snugly in our sleeping bags and our tents and to shut down the campfire for the evening. But before we go, we have a few people to thank.
Thank you to Cass and Crossland and Jake Corlang for the music you hear on the show.
Scooch on over, David. Let's snuggle. And thanks to Ryan Ardell, Josh Hans, for a lot of the audio bits you hear throughout the entirety of the show. Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Rudy Chalk for all of your wonderful graphic work that you get to see in all of our social media. And thank you to you, yes, you, the listener, for tuning in and always staying in touch. We love having you around. If you're just joining us, welcome. We hope you stay a while. Now, you just keep up with what we're doing these days and to keep up on future episodes. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. We have a TikTok, Roast and Toast Pod. You can also find us at our YouTube channel, Roast and Toast. To listen to us on all available streaming platforms, you've got, let's see, what do we got here? We got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube as well. We got Google, but not Pandora because, giddy up, guys, we're riding. Because Pandora stirred up some trouble. Screw you, Pandora.
Well, I am absolutely floored. That film was very loud, but I loved it. Do you think it's the best film of the year? Nah, for me, it's Bear Part Dune. That was the best of the year.